You ever see a headline about military drones in Europe, or maybe a tech story about AI and wonder, what does that have to do with me? Well, it turns out it could affect the price of your flight next year. Today, we're going to connect those exact dots. So let's dive in and see what the world of 2026 really looks like for anyone planning to step on a plane. First, we'll start with the big picture, the super tense geopolitical climate. Then we're going to zoom in on this massive global tug of war for money between AI and energy. From there, we'll see how both of these huge forces are creating a perfect storm for the aviation industry, which is actually changing the very airports you walk through. And finally, we'll boil it all down to what this really means for your wallet and your travel plans in 2026. All right, so to really get where travel is headed, we first have to understand the world it's operating in. And, as we were closing out 2025, that world was feeling, well, pretty tense. This quote from Danske Bank really flips the script on the whole situation. We're not just talking about a single conflict anymore. What these analysts are saying is that Russia is now engaged in what's called hybrid warfare. It's actively probing and pressuring the NATO alliance itself, just to see how far it can push. And this map? It just drives that point home. This isn't happening in just one or two spots. We're seeing a clear pattern of drone activity and airspace violations that stretches all the way from Finland down to Romania. This creates this constant state of tension, both military and political, across the entire eastern edge of Europe. And that, of course, has ripple effects on everything, including commercial flights. Now let's shift our focus over to Asia, where we see a different kind of tension building. While Europe is dealing with that direct military friction, the US-China relationship has become all about economics, with trade and technology as the ultimate stakes. But at the same time, simmering just under that economic rivalry, there's this ongoing military buildup, with China constantly upgrading its surveillance and electronic warfare gear in the super-strategic South China Sea. All of this creates a backdrop of uncertainty for one of the world's most vital corridors for trade and travel. Okay, so with that geopolitical stage set, let's look at the other massive force shaping our world: money. And more specifically, where the world is choosing to invest its trillions of dollars. Because right now we're seeing a really fascinating and maybe slightly worrying split. So on one hand, you have the AI revolution. I mean, the numbers are just absolutely staggering. In 2025 alone, global investment in AI, we're talking everything from chips to data centers to software, is estimated to be in the hundreds of billions of dollars. It is a tidal wave of cash, with everyone betting big on the future of tech. But then, you look at another huge global priority, the energy transition. Specifically, the low-emission fuels we need to power things like airplanes sustainably. The investment there? A comparatively tiny $30 billion. I mean, the difference is just wild. And this chart just puts it all into perspective. Look at that massive bar for oil and gas. Still over $1 trillion. Even renewable power like solar and wind is getting a ton of investment. But that little sliver at the end for low-emissions fuels, which includes sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF, it's completely dwarfed. The bottom line is, the very specific type of clean energy that aviation desperately needs is being seriously underfunded. And here is the paradox, right? This is where these two stories collide. The AI industry, the one that's attracting all that investment, is just gobbling up energy. Data centers are a huge new source of emissions, and they're putting an incredible strain on our power grids. In a place like Germany, the wait time to even connect a new data center to the grid can be more than 7 years. So AI is literally competing for the very same renewable energy that other sectors, like aviation, need to go green. And all of this brings us right to the airline industry, which finds itself caught directly in the middle of these huge global pressures. It's become the arena where geopolitics, technology, and economics are all crashing together. You could really call it a perfect storm. On one hand, trade tensions and tariffs, they actually created a short-term boom for air cargo. That AI revolution, it completely depends on planes to fly all those valuable chips and servers around the globe. But at the exact same time, airlines are dealing with a severe shortage of new planes, and they're being pushed to use sustainable fuels that, as we just saw, are barely being funded. It's a squeeze from all sides. And let's make that aircraft shortage feel real for a second. Right now, there are over 17,000 commercial aircraft on order that just haven't been delivered yet. That backlog is equal to almost 60% of all the planes currently flying. Let that sink in. Because of all the pandemic disruptions and supply chain headaches, this problem isn't going away anytime soon. we're likely looking at these delays lasting well into the early 2030s. And those delays, they have some very real knock-on effects. Since airlines can't get new planes, they're forced to fly their older ones for longer. This drives up maintenance costs, it means the average fleet is getting older, and it stalls all the fuel efficiency gains you get with new tech. And, crucially for you, it also stops airlines from adding new routes and expanding their networks as fast as they want to. So, with all of that pressure happening up in the air, what's going on down on the ground? Well, these trends are physically changing the airports we use and the planes we fly in. The entire passenger journey is getting a major rethink. Just take the screen in front of your seat. There's a huge debate happening in the industry right now. On one side, you've got airlines like American, who are literally ripping screens out to save weight and cut costs. They're betting you'd rather just stream stuff to your own phone or tablet. But on the other side, you have airlines like Delta and United who are doubling down, saying a good seatback screen reduces stress and makes for a better trip. So they're investing a ton in brand new, faster systems. Two completely different philosophies on what you actually want in flight. And the airport terminal itself is transforming. Some are becoming huge power generators, like San Diego International with its massive solar roof. There's a big move toward quiet terminals with better sound design, and a push for what's called biophilic design, basically using more plants, natural light, and even outdoor spaces like terraces, all to create a calmer, less stressful vibe. And some airports, like SFO, are even redesigning their regular gate areas to have that comfy, high-end feel of a premium lounge, which is pretty cool. Okay, so we've covered geopolitics, tech, and airport design, but now for the most important part. What does all of this actually mean for you, the traveler, planning a trip in 2026? First thing to know, you will not be alone out there. A record 5.2 billion people are expected to travel by air in 2026. Demand is just incredibly strong. People want to fly, for business, for fun, to see family. The desire to travel has fully bounced back and is hitting brand new heights. And of course, that leads to the $1,000,000 question, or maybe the $500 ticket question. With all these people flying and airlines posting profits, surely that means flights are going to get cheaper, right? Well, the data suggests probably not. I know, not the answer we wanted. But even with all that money coming in, airlines are facing those rising costs we talked about. More maintenance on older planes, labor issues, you name it. They still aren't making a full return on the huge amount of money it takes to run an airline. So the most likely scenario is that prices are going to stay pretty steady, not drop off a cliff. So the key takeaway for planning your travel is to stay smart and prepared. Number one, be flexible. Playing around with your dates and checking out nearby airports can really help you find the best deals. Number two, given all the geopolitical stuff, always check official government travel advisories before you book. And number three, a pro tip for any trip. Keep both digital and physical copies of all your important documents. You never, ever know when you might need a backup. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. The AI revolution promises this incredible future of digital speed and efficiency, but it demands a tremendous amount of physical stuff, energy, infrastructure, raw materials. As our digital world speeds up, it's forcing some very real trade-offs in our physical one. And the future of travel is right at the heart of that challenge. So what's the right balance? That's a question we're all going to be answering in the years to come.